So the year is 2015, and the Secret Wars, again, has come to an end. And like most multiversal sagas and story arcs, there needs to be a new status quo established. And then this has brought in the all-new, all-different Marvel. Some of these stories, in my opinion, were amazing. Some of them less so. We're going to go through a few of the characters and stories I really enjoyed, and some I just didn't get into. Now remember, this is just purely my opinion, so yeah, if you like the characters, good on you. Some of them probably would be great, and if I would probably read them now, I might change my opinion on them. But yeah, these are 4 good and 4 bad in my opinion, all new, all different Marvel. Okay, so start with good. All new Wolverine. So yes, Laura Kinney, aka X-23, did originally appear all the way back in 2003. She was in the X-Men's Evolution cartoon. One of these, sort of like Batman Beyond, appeared there, was really successful, so she was brought over to the comic books. In 2015, she officially took over the role of Wolverine. This was when Wolverine was assumed dead. That was an interesting story arc. Of course, Wolverine always comes back. The main story for Laura was she ends up finding out that she herself is being cloned, and a clone of herself is going around assassinating people. This version of the clone does not feel pain, which is something that she does. As she goes ahead and finds a clone, ends up teaming up with her a bit. The clone is called Gabby. Yeah, as a character, basically, I just like X-23. I always thought it was an interesting spin on the character. She's still going now, obviously no longer Wolverine, but it's one of those few characters I thought was done quite well, and I would definitely read some of her stories and still pick them up to this day. Okay, so number 2, we'll go for one I thought was not that great. Totally Awesome Hulk. Now, as a kid, I watched the Incredible Hulk cartoon and used to love the comic book. So, making the Hulk a wisecracking 19-year-old was not really for me. Basic narrative, yeah, a 19-year-old Korean-American Amadeus Cho. Now, a great character in his own right, one of the smartest in the Marvel universe, whilst helping Bruce Banner cure himself of the Hulk, as Bruce always tries to do. Basically, moved the Hulk persona over to Amadeus Cho himself, but he managed to maintain his own sort of control over the Hulk, sort of like She-Hulk does, but again, he was still in that amazing huge body of the Hulk. Now, what I used to like about the Hulk was he was unhinged and crazy at times, or there was different personas. Professor Hulk was not Bruce Banner in the Hulk's body. This was Amadeus Cho in the Hulk's body. Yeah, it was all good. Some of the arcs might have been good, like, I think you realise because he wasn't insane like the Hulk that he couldn't destroy as much as the Hulk or fight as well, but I just never got into it. In saying that, once Bruce Banner did come back, you know, the whole story arc of being killed and coming back to life, we did get the Immortal Hulk run, which was incredible. And I know Amadeus Cho has got his own line going now. I think he's called Brawn, where he's sort of not quite the Hulk, but he's a big, strong dude. I have not picked up any of that, if I'm honest. Okay, we'll go back to one that's good. The Mighty Four, aka Jane Foster. I actually really enjoyed this story arc. And yes, it did start slightly before Secret Wars, with Jane Foster's story in the Secret Wars and the Four Corps was quite a cool one. At the time, I was reading a lot of Jason Aaron's Thor run, and I just enjoyed it because, well, yes, okay, how many times has Thor become unworthy? Yeah, heaps throughout that, but they just did a good job at holding off on everyone else finding out that Jane Foster was Thor. Obviously, the readers found out earlier than all the other characters, and tying it in with the fact that when she fighting the God Butcher, you found out she had cancer when Thor was talking to her. A few story arcs later, Thor becomes unworthy when Nick Fury whispers in his ear. Jane picks up the hammer. As we've seen now in the Thor Love and Thunder one, when she has the hammer, she loses all the effects of the chemotherapy. and I thought it was just a great story arc. Obviously, you get that subplot of the War for with the hammer that comes from another universe. And yeah, it all comes to basically a big end fighting Mangog. Mangog, I feel, is a character that would love to see they do in the MCU for the final Thor movie, but we will see. In the battle, she basically ties Mangog up with a chain. I think it was the chain used to tie down Fenris Wolf, and ties it to Mjolnir and throws Mangog into the sun, which tethers her link to the hammer, meaning she was no longer Thor. Basically accepts that she's no longer Thor and goes back to receiving her therapy. I think there was a story where she kind of died, but Odin and Thor said, no, you're not dead yet. But yeah, I really enjoyed Thor Jane Foster. Go back to one now I wasn't quite a fan of, and that was Ironheart. I'll probably get a bit of flack for that one. I've heard amazing things about it. I tried to read an issue or two, and I just didn't really get into it. I think, yeah, Tony Stark being an AI but still conscious was an interesting part of it. Not really sure what's going on with Riri Williams at the moment. I know she had her introduction to the MCU in Black Panther 2, but I didn't read enough of it to know how accurate really that was to the comics. I'm sure given it time it would have been an amazing story, but I mean, Tony Stark's already back in the comics, so it mustn't have gone too long. Okay, back to one I did enjoy. Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider. Now, I have covered this one already in the past. I just think Robbie Reyes was such a cool character. I mean, they got rid of the bike and put a Ghost Charger. I thought the story was quite cool as well. It was a bit different from the other Ghost Rider sagas. Instead of having a spirit of vengeance, his spirit inside was a vengeful family member who you find out was actually in a cult and a serial killer, and basically he's battling with that spirit along the way to basically, yes, you can kill people, but we'll try and make them less good people. So yeah, and then as it's progressed throughout time, he did join the Avengers. I can't remember a Ghost Rider really being in the Avengers before, and him becoming the All Rider. I mean, a Ghost Rider taking over the body of a dead Celestial, how badass is that? Robbie Reyes, hands down, one of my favourite. Okay, and one I less enjoyed again, so we'll go with Sam Alexander, Nova. Yeah, so Nova is a character I kind of got into. I loved Richard Rider in the role. Annihilation, how good was that storyline? One of my favourites to read. I've got the copies on my shelf. I mean, put it into perspective, while the Avengers are pissing around on Earth having a civil war, like having a little spat between themselves, out in space the Annihilation wave's coming and wiping out everything, and you have to put together a team of some of the best in the universe to fight this off. Even Thanos and Galactus make appearances. Pretty sure that's the comic series famous when Drax punches Thanos through the chest. I've even gone off topic here. I can't even talk about Sam Alexander. Now, yeah, the story was basically Sam Alexander finds a helmet. His dad was a Nova. I feel like this comic was more based at a younger audience to try and bring them in to read the comics. There was cool interactions with Beta Ray Bill along the way, and I guess because they included this version of Nova in the Spider-Man cartoon that was out at the time, this was the goal. But yeah, it wasn't for me. If anything, yeah. But I'm not sure how the run ended. I kind of lost track on that one. And we'll go for my final good. Miles Morales, of course. Yeah, I know he came out before all this happened, but he was the original kind of new character that came about. And after Secret Wars, they brought him into continuity, if that is how you pronounce that word. Obviously from the Ultimate Universe. In that universe, they killed off Spider-Man, as you do, to try and see what happens. I thought that was kind of an interesting... It wasn't as big a deal as when they killed off Superman back in the day, but basically Peter Parker met his end fighting the Green Goblin, and Miles Morales had been bitten by a spider and picked up some radioactive powers, as you do. What I liked about the story in the Ultimate Universe was everyone who knew originally who Spider-Man was not happy with this new person basically under the persona. And as the readers grew to accept Miles Morales, it was the same as the other, say, characters like Mary Jane, Aunt May, everyone else coming to accept Miles as this version of Spider-Man. Bringing him over to 616 universe, they did their best to try and integrate him. He's had a few good stories. He's one of those characters now which has got a lot of, I'd say, fame. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse movies were pretty good. If you listen to what everyone says, I quite enjoyed them. And yeah, maybe they'll bring him into the MCU, but I don't know, like, you've got quite a young Tom Holland to be Spider-Man at the moment. I feel like bringing Miles in is when Spider-Man's a bit older, so you can do that kind of junior-senior sort of example. I mean, they could throw it all on its head and make him the senior, you never know. But yeah, Miles Morales Spider-Man, one of my favourites. Okay, and my last now. Might piss a few people off, but Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. Now, I know this comic was huge in its time because it was the first main character from a Muslim descent. And I mean, yeah, I just never really got into the whole Inhuman side of things, and yeah, the Terrigen bomb going off, giving her delayed powers. Obviously, being a huge Miss Marvel fan, she took over. Oh, sorry, Captain Marvel took over that sort of personality. Yeah, the TV show didn't really do her justice, if I'm honest. Kind of changed her backstory way too much. I mean, we kind of butchered the Inhumans in the MCU, and they did try and rewrite it in the comics now that she's half mutant, half Inhuman, trying to justify that that's the reason she's a mutant, but her Terrigen Mist didn't kill them, which was the big story. The Terrigen Mist was killing mutants, but triggering all Inhuman powers. That's why she never got affected. I mean, they might keep her around for a long time. She seems like a sort of character that, I mean, always good in the background, would last a lot longer than the others, but I just never really got into reading this version of Miss Marvel. And I did try. I always give them a few issues just to see how it was, but wasn't quite for me. Alright, and there you go. That was my 4 good, 4 not so good stories or characters from all new, all different Marvel. Again, some of them are still around or going strong to these days, and some of them just kind of, I don't really know what's happening with them anymore, but it was an interesting time. I know there was a lot of change happening at that point in time. Secret Wars, I enjoyed the Secret Wars story arc, but yeah, they just keep doing them. I wonder when the next, kind of like the Crises for DC. So yeah, let me know your opinion. Which characters did you think were great? Which characters were you, not so? Just remember, this is just my opinions. I mean, who am I? I'm just some guy with a laptop. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe.